Alright, what is up guys? This is PVM Vertigo and welcome back to Kerbal Colonization, and today we have the launch of the GKO SAT, or the GKO Relay 1. And it's a satellite, it is a probe. This is all going to be done using RemoteTech. And the goal of this whole episode today is to build and test a orbital constellation type thing up in orbit, so that we will never have a blockage between the Kerbal Space Center and the moon or Minmus, wherever we're going. So basically what the plan was, or what the plan is we're going to send 3 identical satellites. They look all the same, they're just numbered differently. They're going to be placed in a triangle formation, and one's going to be pointing at Kerbin, or the Kerbal Space Center, and there's going to be 2 relay satellites on either side that make an equatorial triangle. That's the whole goal. And then the 2 actual other satellites that aren't pointing at mission control are going to be aiming at the moon or Minmus, or the active vessel. I think it was the active vessel actually. So here we go. This rocket is just custom designed specifically for the GKO Relay series, just because it's not really crazy, like it won't break apart in the atmosphere, and it looks pretty nice. I basically made it because it looked pretty nice. I could have made like a 7-core rocket or something, but I think that the side-mounted boosters they look a lot better. And so you may notice that we have not turned over yet. Yeah, we're not doing a standard low Kerbin orbit right now. We're actually gonna go right into geosynchronous orbit, I should say, not geo because it's not Earth, it's Kerbin. So it's geosynchronous orbit. But anyway, so what we're doing is we're gonna go all the way up to, I think it's 2,800,000 kilometers, I think it is, or meters. It's something like that, but it's very high up. Like, we're not even close to it right now. And the thing is that since this is actually a probe, we have to use antennas, right? So we actually have a launch antenna equipped right now, but somewhere before we actually get to geosynchronous orbit, or height, we actually need to break these fairings apart and deploy everything, because we need those long-range dishes for actually being able to command the probe. Because if you think about it, it is a probe and it has to be commanded by mission control, and there's no connection right now if we were to get high enough. We're using an omnidirectional relay system that's actually mounted on the second stage there. It's the square you see right there below my cursor. But we don't want to use that because we're going to be too far out of range. It works up to 500 kilometers. But we're going to be going to something like 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers up. So that launch relay, or the launch antenna, would not work. Keep in mind, this is all very new to me. RemoteTech is, so I was just experimenting with it today. I actually didn't like go through the whole big planning process. I just said, okay, we're gonna make a satellite like this, and we're gonna launch it 3 times, and it's gonna be good. Now, in hindsight, I might have to do this again, due to the fact that this is not a perfect network. It was no means meant to be. It's meant to be an experiment. At least that's my goal. So yeah, you can see very steep orbit here. And that cone there, if you see that triangle or that cone shape, that is actually the antenna. It's pointing that way. Now, what I thought we had to do is, I thought you actually had to aim like the antenna towards the thing. I thought you had, like the dish in front, you had to aim it at mission control, but no. What you do is you right click on the actual antenna and you click target, and then you can target towards something, and it'll always aim towards it. So if you said target towards active vessel, when you're flying around Minmus and the moon and such, that satellite will actually turn around, or won't turn around, but the antenna will quote unquote turn, and its cone will aim at you. And I think that's pretty cool. It adds a little bit more realism to remote communications. Now, the goal for this episode is not only to make a 3-satellite network. We're actually also going to take a trip to Minmus and get as much science as we can with a science-bringing vessel. We're going to upgrade the Explorer 1. We're not into Explorer 2 yet, because it's in no way different. All we do is add a few science modules to it. You'll see it later during the episode. So we're actually using MechJeb for this, not because we're not letting it fly our vessel. We're just making it so that we can get a perfect circular orbit calculated for us. In fact, I probably should have made it go to perfect geosynchronous orbit too, but oh well. See, if you're gonna use MechJeb, I'd say use Maneuver Planner if you wanna use it a little bit. Think of it as a flight computer. That's what I think of it as. But don't use it for actual automation unless you really like engineering the thing and not flying it. Because if your favorite thing is flying, the game won't be fun for you anymore. I used to play Kerbal Space Program a lot in like 2012, and I actually stopped playing because it was sandbox mode and everything was just MechJeb for me, and I used it too much and it wasn't as fun. So yeah, if you're a person who enjoys flying, don't use MechJeb for that reason. So here you go. So this is actually a relay targeted towards mission control. This will be KeoSat 1. And it is positioned right above the Kerbal Space Center. It's kind of on an angle, but it's always going to be visible. Because even if this is a rough angle, at least for this episode, it is going to be above the Kerbal Space Center. And it should not move that much. In theory, geosynchronous orbit is when your satellite is actually not going to move at all in relation to land. And this is actually where space elevators could be tethered to. If you ever wanted to talk about that. Okay, so I'm doing this as evenly as I can, here as accurately as I can, but there we go. I think the KeoSat 1 is done. Let's go on to KeoSat 2. Alright. Okay, so we skipped over the launch because you don't need to see that. It looked exactly the same as what you just saw in the last satellite. And it looks the same, right? It only just has a 2 next to its name. It's the same in every way. In hindsight, I think I should have actually used more antennas because it would be easier to have 3 or 4, because why not have more antennas? But I only put 2 in this one. I might have to upgrade this later, or maybe I might have to substitute this network. I don't know. And it turns out that I have to actually use the Relay 1 to actually point at Relay 2, because I lost control of Relay 2, but thankfully Relay 2 is actually pointing at Relay 1, but apparently for connections to occur, you have to point them both at each other. So see, now it's actually relaying the connection, so we're good. So yeah, we're gonna switch back over to relay. That's actually, it still says Relay 1, but it is Relay 2. So yeah, KSO Relay 2. I was trying to find a place to rename it. See here, I'm looking like in the service module. I thought I put the probe there. I actually put the probe, if you see, it's on the right there, and it's got all the solar panels mounted on it. But I was looking for it, I couldn't find it. Actually, what I do store in that service bay is just a lot of batteries. So yeah, see, we're getting a connection bounced right off KSO Satellite 1. So we're good there. We shouldn't have any connection problems here. Remember, our goal is to make it far enough away, and right here, this is not far enough away. So we're going to have to adjust our orbit a little bit so that we actually can set up like a phase angle or whatever it's called. We'll make the orbit different than the other one, and then we'll just time warp around until it'll line up with the other one. It does have solar panels, so we can do this indefinitely. We're setting up a maneuver node here to circularize, but I realize at this point that it's not far enough away. Like, it's not far enough on the triangle, so I decide that I might edit the maneuver node and actually bring our orbit down a little bit. And let's switch over to this quickly. Just see what it looks like. Alright, there it is. And in this procedure here, we're just going to be time warping around. It's going to be a little bit of a noobish thing to do, but it's okay. And remember, we might actually drop connection a few times during this time warp, because we actually might go on the other side of Kerbin, right? See, we're actually stretching out here. Like, our network's pretty far right now. And we're about to eclipse Kerbin. You'll see what happens. Boom. Connection's dropped. And we cannot control this craft anymore until KSO Relay 1 comes along and connects back to us. So there's the connection. And this is even a skinnier triangle than before, so this won't work either. Let's go around one more time. We're trying to make this a little bit We want to make it so that it looks nice and it's also functional. So I don't know if this will work. This is a little bit far, but I think this will work. I think this kind of triangle will work okay. It's a little bit stretched, but it's better than nothing, and I think this kind of setup will be just fine. Let's add a maneuver. Oh, look at that evenness. Oh, now it's too much. I'm trying to bring it down a little bit, but we're actually limited. I think this is the flight where I was actually limited by delta V. I don't know if I can complete that maneuver. Let's see here. Alright, so we're coming up to apoapsis. Trying to place KSL relay 2. Wait, did I actually rename this yet? I don't think I renamed it yet. Here we go. Even as possible. Moment of truth. Because this satellite's going to stay here for a very long time, if not indefinitely. Oh, okay. I just had to look at those orbits. Those orbits aren't the same. This might actually be a bad setup. I'm not going to lie, because if you think about it, they need to be exactly the same orbit. There can't be any differences. Because if I were to time warp a lot, these satellites might shift a little bit, and we don't want that. Okay, we're circularized at periapsis. We use MechJeb for this. Create node. Look at that. So the next time we come to periapsis, we'll circularize. That's the beauty of MechJeb. And all it takes is this quick little burn right here to position it correctly. And we're going to start the burn. There it is. And I think we're in position. We're almost in position. There it is, last few meters per second. There it is. Whew. I think our triangle is looking pretty good. Let's hop over to KSL Relay 3. Alright, so I pretty much skipped over our entire flight here. We just basically positioned the satellite the same way we did the other one. It was fairly boring, but it's very exciting when you see what it turned out to be. So yeah, right here we're doing the final burn. I'm going to let you guys see this. This is the last positioning burn we need to do. And as you can see, we have to do 101 meters per second at delta V. I think that's 101. 101 meters per second delta V, and we only have 196 meters per second at delta V total. So yeah, this is going to be some tough stuff here. You have to get it exactly right, otherwise you might be wasting delta V, and more importantly, we might be wasting our orbit, because if we're off by a little bit, the orbits will just shift during time warp, and it'll just be a mess. So there we go. Just need a little bit more delta V here, a little bit more meters per second to go, and after that we'll be set and we'll have a functioning relay network. We'll have no problem ever, you know, messing or not being able to communicate with the Kerbal Space Center again, at least for the foreseeable future of this episode. And there you go. It's positioned, and there it is. Okay, so I may have cut out at least 50 minutes of me trying to figure out that my two satellites weren't actually pointing at each other and they weren't relaying correctly, and then I had to figure out what I had to do to get things pointed in the right direction. But all in all, there it is, the finished product. And our two relay satellites are almost eclipsing Kerbal, and that's not good. But for the foreseeable future, it looks like we can go to mid-miss with a relay network. Even if we might have to do this again in another episode with an upgraded satellite network. Let's see. So we have the Explorer 1, fully upgraded. We got some new science hardware on there. Here it is, lifting off. It's beautiful as always. Explorer 1, always easy to lift off into space. Easy to fly, Very easy to work with. Its second stage is the most powerful of any rocket I've ever designed in Kerbal Colonization. It has close to 3,000 meters per second of delta V in that second stage. First stage can easily lift it up to, well, second stage altitude's like 20,000 meters. That's good enough. And there it goes. This is targeting Minmus. We're going to land on the Great Flats again, and we're going to take the materials bay, and we're going to plop it right down and do some science there. And then we're also going to have some transmissions, because we put a one of those side-mounted long-range dishes on there. And we're going to use RemoteTech, our RemoteTech relay system, to actually relay back to the mission control. And we've never done that before, so that's going to be pretty cool. So yeah, there's me fiddling with MechJeb, watching our Delta V, making sure we're going in the right direction. MechJeb's good for information too. Alright, so we're going to target Minmus here. There it is. And here we are, we're actually doing a little bit of an inclination change here, because we weren't so lucky getting the Minmus this time. Last time we actually were able to get it at its descending node, so it was equatorial to our equator, or equatorial orbit. So we kind of like met in the middle there. You see that dotted line there? That's where its axis is kind of at with its inclination. If we could meet where the axis is pointing, that'll be level with how we are if we're in an equatorial orbit. But we had to do an inclination change because Minmus was not so perfect this time. And we're meeting it far away from the actual inclination descending node, which is what would be on the left over there. So yeah, inclination changes, not much of a big deal. It'll actually make landing easier and navigation easier. Everything will be a lot more standard since we'll get to Minmus pretty much not so much on a steeper angle like we did last time. So that's always good. Of course, here we are, we're about to go to the burn. Only a few seconds away from the burn that we're going to use to transfer over to Minmus. There we go. All 7 cores propelling us straight to Minmus at a thrust-weight ratio of 2. Lots of meters per second delta V left in the second stage. This thing is a beast. Just wait until we have actual 2.5 meter parts. Think what we can do with those. We won't just be going to the moon and stuff. We'll have huge RemoteTech relay networks and stuff going across the solar system. It'll be pretty cool. Albeit it might be hard because this relay network was hard enough for me already. But I am a noob at RemoteTech, so don't blame me. Here we are, using a little bit of precision here with the engines. And there we are, headed straight to Minmus. Okay, so in efforts to keep the video short and sweet, I actually skipped over to the actual landing sequence. You didn't need to see all the scientific stuff we did. We did like 2 or 3 science experiments involving the new thermometer we have, and we beamed them back to Kerbal. We're actually using KSO relay number 3 to relay us, and we can do that during the entire landing sequence. You'll see what I mean. So we're on to the last landing stage, and we're gonna be landing soon on a Great Flat. It's gonna be right over those hills. You can see it there on the map. So yeah, we have quite a little bit of time here, so we can do a few experiments before we get there. Even here, we have a lot of time left. Okay, so I'm actually gonna do a crew report. Look at that. I'm going to keep that, and I'm actually going to enable the antenna right here. That is the funky side-mounted one. It's actually aiming right at KSO relay number 3, and I can actually transmit it. Hey, there we go. We have a functioning relay network that we can beam straight to mission control without any hassle, without any, having to fly all the way back to do that. Because remember, we can only take 1 crew report at a time. So this makes it a little bit more convenient, because transmitting things that are crew reports, that was really bad worded, but transmitting crew reports, that doesn't take away any percentage of the actual report. So if you transmit it, it's to your advantage to do that. The thing is, it's hard to do it without a relay network. You have to be really lucky to have mission control on the right side of Kerbal at the right time. So a relay network will actually help you a lot. Albeit ours isn't exactly the most precise, but it's getting the job done. I mean, we just did a successful thing there. And here we go. Landing on Minmus for, I think this is the 3rd time. No, this is only the 2nd time. But see, it feels like a regular thing now for some reason. even though it's only the second time this series, but it feels like a regular thing. It's probably the spacecraft, because the spacecraft has stayed the same for all our moon missions. It's been the Explorer one. Remember, that flag on the side represents the Kerbal Empire, and they have unlimited resources. So we could do more than the Explorer one, but the Explorer one is just so efficient. Why not use it? It's still using first generation solar panels on there too, which is pretty funny. We haven't upgraded the solar panels on that thing, and I just realized that the shadow's there and that I'm going a little bit too fast for my liking, so I gotta do a nice burn here. But still be controlled. I want to put it down nicely. I'm trying to actually get the crew report. It never happens, spoiler alert, but I thought there was a near, or not near, but like just above Minmus, like there is on the moon, but no, there's no just above Minmus. You have to be landed. Or it just says that you're near, but not just above. So here's the point of touchdown, the thing you've all been waiting for. And success. Time to do some science. Alright, so we skipped to a part where you can see that Jebediah is floating around like a maniac. Just kidding. He's actually taking science from all the different experiments that are outside that can't be grabbed from the inside, like the materials bay. He's going to take his Kerbal hands and he's going to reach in there and he's going to grab all the stuff that's in there that contains the science. And although the components can't be used anymore, he can actually store them in his capsule. So we're just going to ditch the entire stage on the way back to Kerbal after we did all that science on Minmus. So pretty much we can just enter with only the capsule and a parachute and a heat shield. And we should be fine. Now remember, we're going to point opposite of Minmus's travel. So if Minmus is going left in comparison to Kerbal, we're going to be going right. So in that case, that means that we have to actually lift off and go east. And since Minmus has such a low gravity, I can just kind of spool it up here, and we're going to be going pretty high up through the clouds of Minmus. I don't even know how this place has clouds. It's lower gravity than the moon, and it has clouds. Alright, so we are setting it up here. We're just going to keep on burning. We're going to make a maneuver node here. Get ourselves situated. Set ourselves up for a re-entry event. Alright, so all in all, mission successful. Relay network is working very well. It's functional, at least. And here comes the science back home. At least 100, at least 100. And here we go. Gonna be re-entering any time now with all this science. And time to reflect on what we actually did today. Okay, we launched 4 different spacecraft. We usually only do 3, sometimes even 2. So I'm sorry that this felt a little bit compressed, but I had to do a lot that day in regards to, I didn't want to like do part of the RemoteTech relay, because if it was all that, you guys wouldn't be so interested. So I actually put a Minmus landing in there too. This episode's going to be a little bit longer than usual. Nah, that's okay. That's okay, right? More Kerbal Space Program is better, right? So here we go on the re-entry. And, of course, we land in the middle of the ocean with all our science. Alright, so that's the end of this flight. Explorer 1, mission number 3, successful. 100% success rate on this. And we need to see what actually is coming with our relay network, because on the flight back I noticed something. It appears that one of our satellites has come out of alignment. Alright, so you can see here the relay network is already broken on the time it went to Minmus. And every time warp we'll see it just becomes even more shifted. Just more shifted. It's not functional. It worked for the one Minmus mission. It's good like in a sense. It was good for the mission, basically. Like, it worked. But it's not long-term support. And in fact, we end up deleting them, and we're gonna have to start over again on the next episode. But next episode, we're gonna be more exact with it, and we're gonna have a better design due to new scientific things we can do, because we did get 200 science from the last mission. It was pretty crazy. So we're gonna have better satellites, and we're gonna have a more complex, not really more complex, but more thought out network. So look forward to that, guys. And thank you for watching this episode of Kerbal Colonization. My name is PVM Vertigo. Thank you for watching this episode. Stay tuned for more episodes. Subscribe if you haven't, if you like this. That's all I have to say for today. This is PVM Vertigo. Peace out.